Alright, so here's the gearbox out of the Elite Force G36c sports line by S&T. Like I said, all these internal parts manufactured from S&T of China. It is a Chinese-made gun, but I wouldn't be too disappointed. S&T does take a lot of their features out of Ares, and Ares, they make a pretty decent AEG, I'd say. Let's start off with the gearbox shell. One thing about the gearbox shell that is really nice is it's really reinforced. Kind of by accident too, because the original design for this gearbox shell came out of the Ares G36cs, and those were blowback. So this still has the entire blowback housing, as you can see, and it just basically beefs up the gearbox shell by doing that. So I don't think this gearbox shell is going to break. It's pretty nice quality. The bushings are indeed metal. That is a very nice touch to see. They are 7mm and solid, so that's very nice to see that they have solid metal bushings. Let's go on to the motor here. This is my first disappointment of the gun, was the motor. It's more of a high speed, not really a high torque, so if you are going to utilize the quick change spring feature, you're going to need to upgrade this motor. Now moving on to the internal guts of the gearbox. Let's zoom in here and see if I can get you guys a better view of it. Alright, there we go. I'll start with the spring guide and the spring. Now the spring guide, it's a really nice feature, especially for what you pay for this gun. The core and back is metal, but the actual outer piece is plastic. But all that matters is the core is metal, because that's the piece that's just going to reinforce it. So a very nice spring guide here, probably won't be breaking on you, you can keep it. The only downside is no bearings. The spring here is a pretty weak one. As you can see, it's about the same length of the entire upper assembly. It's about an M100, gives about 320 FPS. It's a pretty weak shooting gun. If you are going to upgrade this gun, I would say the stock motor can maybe pull an M110, possibly. But put an M110 in here, it should bump the performance very nicely. The piston here, kind of a standard design, kind of not. The second tooth is not removed, blast metal tooth. The O-ring and cylinder head was very nice, because the O-ring, pretty thick. It allows for great compression in the cylinder. But the problem is not with the cylinder, even though the cylinder is crap. The problem is the cylinder head, and I'll show you that later. Actually, I'll just show it to you right now. What am I talking about? Oh my. Alright, so here's the cylinder assembly here. Let me take all this stuff off so I can show you what I mean. Now the cylinder itself is the standard S&T design. It's this really crappy cylinder, very lightweight. It feels like you can crush it in your hand. But the nice thing about this setup is, I don't even know if I'll be able to get it, but there we go. The piston, it fits in the cylinder very nicely. Alright, I'm not holding it at all. I mean, it's got a great compression in the piston. But the problem is when you put the air head, or the, what's the name? The cylinder head on, it doesn't do jack. Alright? Because, yeah, you got great compression in the cylinder, but if you don't have a good cylinder head, this is what's going to happen. It's basically just going to, it blows right past the cylinder every time. So basically the air is just escaping from the cylinder head, causing an air leak. Big turn off for me, because when guns have that bad of an air compression, you gotta buy a new cylinder head and usually a new air nozzle, and then, you know, what the hell, might as well go with a new cylinder because you're replacing your whole gearbox by then. But like I said, air compression problem, you need either a new cylinder or a cylinder head, or both. It's up to you. Air nozzle is a standard G36 design, no internal O-ring. Moving on to the lower assembly, let's start with the gears and we'll get into the buttfuck what. Yeah, let's get in the gears. They are S&T gears, I'm pretty sure. There's no stampings on them, they're pretty standard design. Another thing about this gearbox was there was no shims at all, so pretty crappy shimming job if you ask me. Sector gear does have a spot where you can add a sector chip. Standard sector gear. Spur gear. Again, no shims, standard spur design. And then of course you have the anti-reversal latch. Nothing too fancy here. Another thing about this gun was it wasn't greased bad, but it wasn't greased good either. The grease job was, you know, indifferent. I am indifferent about the grease job. Now let's get on with this whole trigger unit, because I'm gonna debunk some myths about this thing right here. Now this is a Microswitch. Originally, if I can get it to focus, originally a company called Star came out with the Microswitch for, you know, their light machine guns. I thought it would be easier. Now the only difference with the Microswitch is it's micro, it's really small. This small little gray button here is pushed. I don't know if you can hear that click, but that's the actual trigger contacts connecting. The idea behind this was you wouldn't have to worry about, you know, the trigger contacts failing, and it would just be a more reliable design. Well, in the past that really hasn't happened, and these Microswitches have been known to fail and suck very badly. I did get to use this gun on the field yesterday, same with another person, and there was no problems with we had no problems with anything failing. Now, time will definitely tell if this will hold up, but from what I can tell, it's a pretty solid unit, and I've seen other Microswitches, they haven't really failed. It's just been the hardware around the Microswitch to fail. So that is kind of a downer there, but like I said, it's a completely different design from a traditional, trigger assembly. A little bit different, but it's not going to hurt anything. It should work fine. Now the cutoff lever and the trigger shuttle are all a standard design. Same with the trigger, it's all standard design, it's just the Microswitch is different. So there's a little spiel on that. That can be a plus or a con if you want. But overall, this gearbox is, you know, pretty good. Alright, and here's the inner barrel of the gun. I just wanted to show you guys this before I left. I originally couldn't get it out, I couldn't figure out how to remove it, but I just did. It's really simple. It's kind of like a UMP design, or a some G36s out there. But the hop-up unit and stuff is a standard type G36 design, it looks like. It should take any aftermarket hop-up unit. The inner barrel, though, is a little bit different. As you can see, it's red. I've never seen an inner barrel this color. And I think it's the same material that the cylinder is made out of. It's the same exact color, it feels the same. I don't know what bore this is, I don't have anything to measure it with accurately. But, I mean, the grouping, when shooting it, the gun wasn't terribly inaccurate, so it's a decent inner barrel. Another thing, like I stated before, was the hop-up unit had that sort of two-fin design going on with the bucking. I'll try to show you that now. It wasn't the best design. Nah, there's no way you're going to be able to see that, but basically, instead of one point of contact coming down through the hop-up chamber, there's 2 points of contact that go over the BB. And basically that just allows for more consistent shooting. But like I said, this wasn't the best quality hop-up chamber anyway, so it really didn't matter. It still gets the job done, it gives a pretty good hop-up, but I don't know, I don't really know what to say. It's got a weird color inner barrel, the hop-up chamber is pretty loose everywhere. But it gets the job done, so you guys can make what you want about the inner barrel and such.